Hello student. So we will start our next topic. The topic name is dynamically equivalent system. Okay. So in this unit, fourth unit, we have started from static force analysis, small introduction about static force analysis. Then we directly jump to the dynamic force analysis. Okay. In dynamic force analysis, at the starting we have seen how to calculate the displacement of piston, then velocity of piston, and then acceleration of piston. So then how can we calculate various forces in the engine? Okay, so I explain one problem. Okay, I request you to solve this problem, attend these examples. Okay, so there will be some variations like a vertical engine. See, for example, this is a vertical engine, so when you are calculating net force, the mg effect will be considered. Okay, but in last problem with which we solved, we didn't consider the mg effect. See, here we can see this is piston effort. Okay, so fp minus fv only inertia force and pressure force. Okay, but here because that in this case the engine was horizontal. Okay, and now the engine is vertical. So when the engine is vertical, we have to consider the mg effect also. The weight of the piston will be also, or all the weight of reciprocating part will be considered. Okay, so we will add here mg in the net effective to calculate the net effective force. Okay, so please try this problem, 1-2 problem, practice. If you don't get, ask me. Okay, so from here I will come to next topic. The name is dynamically equivalent system. So if you remember, in the last expression we have ignored the inertia effect of connecting rod. Okay, so why we ignored, and like why, but if we cannot say that mass of the connecting rod is very small, so sometimes we have to consider the mass of the connecting rod also. And when you are considering the mass of connecting rod, we have to consider the inertia effect of connecting rod also. But what is the problem with connecting rod? Okay, if you remember, the diagram was like this was the diagram. Okay, so this is your connecting rod and this is piston. Now no problem with piston because piston is having only linear motion, but the connecting rod is in general motion. Okay, it have angular motion and linear, so it is in combination of both. So when it is in general motion, we have to do rigorous analysis, means calculation, to find out inertia and all. And the next problem with connecting rod is not having mass uniformly distributed. As here you can see this. Okay, so this body is not having uniformly distributed mass. So the dynamically equivalent system come into the picture, where you have to analyze, or you have to calculate the inertia force of that body which is not having uniformly distributed mass. Okay, the example is connecting rod. Okay, so usually the inertia of the connecting rod is taken into account by considering a dynamically equivalent system. Okay, if I show a diagram how a connecting rod look like, so this is your connecting rod. Okay, so the mass is, we can see it is not uniformly distributed. Now this is again theory of machine by Khurmi and Gupta. Okay, so in Khurmi and Gupta, the chapter is, see here all the forces analysis what we have covered it from SS Ratan. You can see here the chapter is here. The chapter name is Inertia Forces in Reciprocating Parts, and it is chapter 15 in Khurmi and Gupta. Okay, whereas in this unit, it is 13th chapter. The name is dynamic force. Okay, the chapter name is dynamic force analysis. Okay, so same topics you will find in chapter 15 in the Kurmi and Gupta. Now, what is a dynamically equivalent system, and when we should consider a dynamically equivalent system? So here you can see this is a body which is not having uniformly distributed mass. The center of gravity or mass center is G here. Okay, and the force acting on this is this F. Okay, the mass is of this entire body is M, and the minimum distance, a perpendicular distance between line of action force and G is given by E. Okay, so as the mass of the connecting rod is also significant, the inertia due to the same should also be taken into account, as neither the mass of the connecting rod is uniformly distributed nor the motion is linear. Okay, so both problem we have. First problem is the mass is not uniformly distributed in the connecting rod, and second, the motion is not linear. It is that's why its inertia cannot be found as such, what we have done in piston case. So usually the inertia of the connecting rod is taken into account by considering a dynamically equivalent system. So if you want to solve a problem of means how to calculate inertia effect of a connecting rod, we have to understand the dynamically equivalent system. Okay, but the problem they don't ask, means maximum 99% case they ignore the inertia effect of connecting rod. Okay, so I will explain only what is dynamically equivalent system, and the next analysis inertia effect of connecting rod I will leave up to you. Okay, then I will jump to next topic, which is turning moment diagram. Okay, so first we will understand what is dynamically equivalent system. A dynamically equivalent system means that the rigid link is, okay, so here you will find the definition. A dynamically equivalent system means that the rigid link is replaced by a link with 2-point mass in such a way that it has the same motion as the rigid link when subjected to the same force, that is the center of mass of the equivalent link has the same linear acceleration and has the same angular acceleration. As I already told, in case of again and again I will explain in this analysis in regard of connecting rod. Okay, because it is for connecting rod only. So as connecting rod is not only in linear motion or only in angular motion, it is combination of both, that is we call general motion. Okay, so that's why it will have both linear acceleration and angular acceleration. So how he is defining dynamically equivalent system? If for example this is my body, okay, this is the body of connecting rod which is not uniformly distributed. Now I want to replace this body with another body which have uniformly distributed mass. Okay, so what we are doing, we are replacing this body with a 2-point mass. Okay, 2-point mass in such a way that it has the same motion as the rigid link when subjected to the same force. So this body, when it is subjected to F force, the both point mass or this 2-point mass system should have same motion under the same force. Okay, so how you will calculate that this body will have same force, same motion? So it should have equivalent linear, means the equivalent link. So this is equivalent link should have same linear acceleration and same angular acceleration like this body under the action, means under the action of this external force F. Okay, so now this is the definition, but how it will come and what condition you need, means when we will call that this is a dynamically equivalent system. Okay, so for that now you will see that the m should be equal to m1 plus m2. Okay, now we will derive here. Okay, so these are the condition exactly. There are two conditions. The first condition is, so okay, we can see that, okay, if f, this is f and this is m, okay, force. So if this body is moving with this f force produces linear acceleration of f. Okay, so if linear acceleration is f, so f will be is equal to m into f, like force is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, now how much torque is coming on this? Okay, so this force is not acting through this g, so that's why how much torque, f into e, and that torque will be equivalent to I into alpha. Okay, where I is moment of inertia of the body about perpendicular axis through the g. Okay, so this I is mass moment of inertia about a axis which is passing through g. Okay, and alpha is angular acceleration. This f is linear acceleration and this alpha is angular acceleration. So here we got two relation, f is equal to m by f, m into f, and f into e, which is nothing but torque about g, and that is equal to I into alpha. So f I can write, means acceleration I can write force by mass, and angular acceleration alpha I can write f into e, means torque divided by mass moment of inertia. Okay, moment of inertia. So now to have the dynamically equivalent system, let the replaced massless link has 2-point mass m1 and m2. So this is a equivalent link, means this body you are replacing with this link. Okay, and we are calling it dynamically equivalent system. So this system have two mass, one mass m1 at b, m2 at d, and the distance between b and g is b. Okay, and g and d is d, at distances b and d respectively from the center of mass g. Okay, so as shown in figure b. Now to satisfy the first condition, as the force f is to be same, okay, the sum of the equivalent, if force will be same, what should be same? To produce same acceleration, if same acceleration and same force, this m should be same, both mass, both the systems, like this m should be equal to this 2-point mass m1 plus m2 to generate same linear acceleration. So this is first condition. Okay, the sum of equivalent masses m1 and m2 has to be equivalent to m to have the same acceleration. So first condition you are getting is, to find out equivalent dynamic system, the mass should be, means the rigid link mass will be equivalent to two equivalent, that whatever you are replacing, the dynamically equivalent system's mass. Okay, m1 plus m2. Now to satisfy the second condition, which is like this condition is linear acceleration will be same. Now second condition is angular acceleration should be same. So to satisfy the second condition, the condition which you are getting is that the numerator f, this condition alpha is equal to f into e, and denominator I must remain the same. So f is already taken same. If f is same, e has to be same between, which means that the perpendicular distance of the mass f, distances of f from g should remain same. Okay, so this f is already constant, so this e should be constant, e should be same. So to satisfy this e condition, the condition you are getting is m1 into b should be equal to m2 into d. m1 into b should be equal to m2 into d means if you take moment about g, it should come equal. m1 into b should be equal to m2 into d. Okay, so the second condition we are getting is m1 plus b, m1 into b equal to m2 into d. So to have the same moment of inertia of the equivalent system about perpendicular axis through the combined center of the mass, we must have I is equal to m1b square plus m2 d square. Okay, because now this is your E only. Okay, so m1 into b square plus m2 into d square. Thus any distributed mass can be replaced by 2-point masses. Okay, any distributed mass, for example a connecting rod, can be replaced by 2-point masses to have the same dynamical properties if these following conditions are satisfied. So what are the conditions? Just now we have got the sum of the two masses is equivalent to the total mass, m is equal to m1 plus m2. The combined center of mass coincide with that of the rod. Okay, so the combined center of mass should coincide with that of the rod. See here, this G should coincide with the distributed mass center. Okay, now the moment of inertia of the 2-point masses about the perpendicular axis through their combined center of mass is equal to that of the rod. So if you calculate the mass moment of inertia of this 2-point mass, it should be equal to I. Okay, and that is about G, it will be m1 into b square, means I is the mass moment of inertia of this body, and that for equivalent system it should be equal. Okay, so it will be m1 into b square is equal to plus m2 into d square. Okay, so these are three conditions which should satisfy to get a equivalent mass dynamically equivalent system. Okay, so this dynamically equivalent system they ask in 5 marks or 6 marks problem in theory question. Okay, so next topic is inertia of the connecting rod. They are explaining, you can understand this. So this is in this A diagram they have said that we have a connecting rod and we are considering that A and B point means the mass is maximum concentrated at B and A point. Okay, so now he is replacing this system with this B diagram. So now he is assuming mass at D point and mass at B point. Okay, and now how he is calculating has been explained here. It's not means MA and MB he is calculating in terms of M. Okay, so you can read this, it's not that much important, so I will leave it here and we won't cover even problem on this topic. Okay, so if you want to cover, solve one example, that's all, otherwise you can skip this, but you should not leave this topic, dynamically equivalent system. Okay, up to now. Okay, you should cover this, and easy problem you will find for this type of on this topic in Khurmi and Gupta. Try to solve one or two problem, that's all. The next very important topic, and there is 99% sure that you will get at least 10 marks or 20 marks problem, and that topic is what we are going to cover now, and the topic name is turning moment diagram. Okay, so the next topic is yes, turning moment diagram. Okay, so what is turning moment? Just if you remember in last class we calculated turning, the crank effort which was Ft. Okay, crank effort was Ft and it was acting tangentially to the circle made by crank. Okay, so that turning moment was Ft into R, and we derived that relation. This was F into R sine theta, because Ft was 1. Okay, Ft is equal to F sine theta plus sine 2 theta by either 2n only, or if you don't approximate it will be 2 square root n square minus sine square theta. So this was the formula for to calculate turning moment on the crank. Okay, and that will produce power. So during one revolution of the crankshaft of a steam engine or IC engine, the torque on it varies and is given by this formula, okay, where this is crank effort and this is piston effort, okay, both are different. We have seen this in engine force analysis video, okay. So now what is turning moment diagram? This graph is this, if you plot this turning moment with respect to theta, the diagram is called turning moment diagram. So a plot between T means torque, okay, turning moment or torque on the crankshaft versus this theta. And what was theta? That theta is angle turned by the crank from the IDC, inward dead center, okay. IDC, how much angle it turns when the crank is rotating clockwise, okay. So if you plot T versus theta, the diagram is called turning moment diagram, and the inertia effect of the connecting rod is usually ignored. That's why I am saying 99% chance is they won't give to consider connecting rod inertia effect, okay. If there is very little chance, okay, that we will get a problem in which we should consider the inertia effect of the connecting rod. Usually it is ignored while drawing the diagram, but it can also be taken into account if we require, okay. So as T is equal to Ft into R, okay, so a plot of Ft versus theta, okay, known as crank effort diagram, because this Ft is what? Crank effort, okay. So crank effort diagram is identical to a turning moment diagram. So both diagram, turning moment diagram and crank effort diagram, are identical, okay. The turning moment diagram for different types of engine are given below. So we will see one by one. This is single cylinder double acting steam engine, okay, single cylinder double acting steam engine. Read this theory somewhere, what is a double acting steam engine, okay. So if you draw a turning moment diagram or for a single cylinder and double acting steam engine, this will be like this. See here, on x-axis we have theta, how much that angle is turned by the crank and how much turning moment you are getting is plotted on y-axis. See here, both are in positive side. Why? Because it is double acting steam engine, both stroke will give some power, okay. But when you will see the single cylinder 4-stroke engine, okay, single cylinder 4-stroke engine like our IC engine in automobile, there are only one power stroke, okay. So when you will read about IC engine, internal combustion engine, okay, in third year, you will read that a internal combustion engine have 4 stroke: suction stroke, compression stroke, expansion and exhaust. Out of these 4, only the stroke which produces power is expansion stroke, okay. That's why, as you can see, this is our zero line. Negative side means negative torque. Negative torque means it is not producing power, it is consuming power, okay. So you can see that only the power production is only in expansion stroke, okay. So it is 4-stroke engine. So 4-stroke means so in single cylinder 4-stroke engine, the turning moment diagram will be like this, whereas in double acting steam engine, single cylinder double acting steam engine, the diagram will be like this, because here in both stroke you will get power, okay. So when the piston, it is double acting, means when it is coming backward also will produce power, when it is moving forward it will also produce power. So the diagram will be like this, okay. So they will give us this diagram, that is not problem. How to solve the problem and what we will calculate, we will understand in next couple of slides, okay. So you can read here no, means this is representing the fluctuation of energy. Okay, so from here exactly you are going to design a, means you are going to find out the size or mass of flywheel. Okay, and what is the need of flywheel? See now, if you can, for example, just take the example of this 4-stroke IC engine. Okay, this is for single cylinder, this is for multi cylinder. So here you can find some uniformity in the power generation. Okay, this is not at all uniform, and this is also not uniform because it's generating only one side, but somewhat okay. Okay, so how to regularize this ununiformity in power generation? So just for example take this, and for example this engine is working in your bike, which is real. Okay, so if you are not using a flywheel, what the problem will be? So like in suction stroke it is not generating power, so your bike will stop. And again compression stroke is negative stroke, means negative power, so you have to give power to the engine. Your engine is not producing any power, so means again your bike will stop. Then what we should do, like how to avoid this uniformity? So, and only power you are getting is where? In the expansion. So means like in 3 stroke, when a engine is working in 3 stroke, you are not getting power, only you are getting power in the 1 stroke. So like for example just consider 4 seconds. Okay, for example 1 revolution is means, just for example, it is completing in 4 seconds. So in 3 seconds you are getting negative power, means you have to give power to the engine, and only in for 1 second you are getting. So for only 1 second you are getting power. So like, is your means bike or like car, when means only for 1 second it will move forward and remaining 3 seconds it is coming backward. It's not happening like that, and even you are not feeling jerk, means like a uniformity in power. So how we are maintaining this? And this is, we are maintaining with the help of flywheel. Okay, this we are maintaining with the flywheel. So what is the work of flywheel? Flywheel will store energy, because see, if here you are getting too much power, means it this time the speed will be very high, and then it will be suddenly stopped if you don't use a flywheel. So what is the work of flywheel? Flywheel will store energy during this power stroke and will deliver during remaining this stroke. Okay, when you are getting negative power. Negative power means your engine is require power, so during this your flywheel will deliver power, and during this stroke it will store the energy. So that, and it will, so the resultant like power distribution will be, torque distribution will be a almost straight line. Okay, so that's why we need a flywheel. So when the crank is at B, the flywheel has absorbed energy while the crank has moved from A to B, and thereby the speed of the engine is maximum. At C, the flywheel has given out energy while the crank has moved from B to C. So he is exactly referring this diagram. Okay, so say for example this is our like mean torque line. This all you will understand when we will solve a problem. Okay, how to get this mean torque line? Okay, that mean torque line will give us maximum fluctuation of energy. So to get the mean torque line, we have to divide the area, means total area under the turning moment diagram, divided by the cycle, how much cycle is given, or means how much total in one revolution, how much angle the crank will cover. So in this case, single cylinder double acting steam engine, one stroke or one revolution is completed in 2 pi, means 360 degree. So his dividing by 2 pi. For example, it is 4 pi, then it will divide by 4 pi, like in this case. Why it is 4 pi? Because it is 4 stroke engine. 4 stroke means in 4 stroke engine, for 360 degree, 2 stroke will be completed, and remaining 360 degree another 2. So it is covering total 4 pi, 316 plus 360, okay, 720 degree angle. So in this, to get the what we say mean line, you will divide by 4 pi, okay, but here it is only 2 pi. So area O, G, P, K and Q divided by 2 pi, and this will give you mean torque line. So this is the mean torque line and is the mean height of the turning moment diagram. Okay, so this is the mean torque line. Now what we want to calculate is, we want to calculate fluctuation of energy. So when the crank turns from angle OA to OA to OB, the work done by the engine is represented by the area AFGHB. Okay, but the work done against the resisting torque is represented by the area AFHB. Okay, thus the work means how much this is giving resisting torque. So if you remember, in last example you calculated resisting torque by from power. Okay, so this much power, this torque is used to generate the power. Now but what about this torque? Okay, thus the engine has done more work than what has been taken from it. Okay, so this extra energy, okay, or power, because torque or turning moment will give you power only, so that power will be stored in the engine. So the excess work is represented by the area FGH. This is excess work. This excess work increase the speed of the engine and is stored in the flywheel. Okay, so now he has stored this energy into the flywheel. Now when it will use, see now here, this is your graph. Okay, so this energy will be delivered during the crank travel from OB or OC. Okay, OB or OC, from here to here, the work needed for the external resistance is proportional to BHJC. Okay, if you can see, this is the production. Okay, but to maintain the constant speed we need this much torque, but production is this only, so this is negative area. Okay, so this will be delivered by the flywheel. Okay, in the same way he has written this theory, you can understand this, means read this. So during the crank travel from OB to OC, the work needed for the external resistance, means to produce the power to maintain the same speed, is proportional to this area, where the work produced by the engine is represented by the area under HPG, H, P and J. So under this area only, this is the, means from here to here, this is the production, but requirement is equivalent to this rectangle. So from where you will get this? You will get this from flywheel, because flywheel has stored this energy during the last cycle, during the, means from when the angle was turning from O to B. Okay, so this is how, thus during this period more work has been taken from the engine, that is produced. So the loss is made up by the flywheel, which gives up some of its energy, and the speed decreases during this speed. So you can understand that this is the work of flywheel. Okay, so that is the work of flywheel. It stores the energy when engine produces more, and it gives to the system when it require, means when the engine produces less and your system require more. Okay, so flywheel is a mechanical device which store the energy and which can store the energy. Okay, so now we will design flywheel only based upon this diagrams, turning moment diagram. Okay, so next will be fluctuation of energy. So next video I will start from here. Before that I request you complete up to this point. Okay, so there will be some definitions like fluctuation of speed. Okay, what is the fluctuation of speed and what is the maximum energy, what is the minimum energy, what is the coefficient of fluctuation of speed and coefficient of fluctuation of energy. Okay, so all these we will define in next lecture. Okay, I request you to read up to here, and if you don't get anything, ask me. Okay, so next topic will be fluctuation of energy, and from there we will design exactly flywheel only. Okay, so here it will be design of flywheel, how much mass we required. From the turning moment diagram you will calculate how much mass is required, how much mass moment of inertia will be there. Okay, so we will do this in next. Up to now you have to cover up to 13.11. Okay, so it means all turning moment diagram. So this turning moment diagram is different for all. So here, because it is multi-cylinder, so here you can see some uniformity. Okay, multi-cylinder engines were used to produce more power and also to produce the uniform power, so that you can reduce the size of flywheel. Because if you have more ununiformity in the power generation, you require big, means bigger flywheel. Okay, so that's why if you can use multi-cylinder engine, that will give you uniform power and also high power. So here you should remember one thing, that the multi-cylinder engine produces more power, with that it also produces uniform power, which will reduce the size of flywheel. Okay, so with this I will end the lecture here. Okay.